Hi everyone, it's Richard Carlton here. I'm here today with
Nick Hunter, and I'm glad to be here talking with you today.
This is an under the hood video that we're shooting here with Nick Hunter, who is a very senior design specialist with a history of building awesome FileMaker solutions. Nick comes from originally back in the day from Europe and then at Apple and FileMaker, where he did design work with that team there. And now Nick is building solutions out for the FileMaker community. And this is another sample file that he's put together to show you how you can make an awesome interface with some interesting kind of tricks using the FileMaker platform. So welcome, Nick, to our Under the Hood video.
Hi, Richard. How are you?
I am fantastic. Now tell us about this design file. Why is it special?
It is special because today the difference you can make with building your solution with FileMaker is about the design. And it's difficult to find a great example outside about design, and most of all about how to organize objects, layout object and components inside the layout. We don't have good sample. We have the starter solution that I completely built back in the day. I don't know if you remember when I was building the sample file, but they were a little bit too simplistic. And here we are going a little bit deeper in what we can do with the FileMaker platform, especially with the new FileMaker 16, FileMaker Pro 16. And this file is more about how to organize object, how to build object, and how to build multiple objects together and build them and then get a new feature that is not normally out of the box in FileMaker.
Okay, so just to remind everyone, you and I put together the FileMaker user interface design course. This video will be added to that course, and this kind of continues the learning of people learning about design and building applications in the FileMaker platform. So this just continues that conversation. So walk us through this solution. I mean, this is very cool, and it's unlocked so people can use this or learn. Or
yeah, it's totally unlocked. So people can use to learn how to get inspired with our design and how we organize things. And of course, this file is coming with a complete theme that we call the Red Downtown. This is a complete theme that we built from scratch, and it's very complete. And you have a lot of things like, you have plenty of styles for fields, for a button, for button bar, etc., etc. So that is coming with the file that you can just go in your solution, you go manage theme, and then you can just import in your solution this new theme that we built. So this is great though. And actually what we wanted to do here is to tell the people, okay, here how we build file, because those are Apple and the standard of the industry design guidelines and principle. So we took those guidelines from the software industry with the Xcode and JavaScript and stuff like that. So we took the guidelines, the design guidelines to this field, and we brought that into FileMaker. And that's why we have this design and how to organize field inside the layout. We have 3 major layouts that we are demonstrating how to organize things like that. Because what is important to know is each kind of data has its own design, So that's what we demonstrate here in this file.
Now, I want to point something out to everyone. Nick is multilingual, so he speaks English and French, and he has dual citizenships in a number of countries. So this file is part English and what looks to be part French up there. And I'm not sure it'll ship this way, but I know that Nick can design databases not just in native US English, but other languages. So if you see little bits and pieces like that in the solution, don't freak out. It's not necessarily a spelling error. It's just the way Nick's brain is spelling that word on that day. So we're having fun at Nick's expense. But the reality is that FileMaker works in a number of languages: French and Italian, Japanese, Chinese. I mean, there's a lot of languages FileMaker supports, and so you'll see bits and pieces of this in here potentially.
And it's interesting you're bringing that, because actually this design has been created, largely inspired from the FMSP design that we already issued in the new file last year, right? That we worked together on it. But this design has been implemented in a huge database that is a big 1.6 million citizen city in Canada is using a solution entirely built with this design, and they are extremely excited about the design. Very easy to understand. It's very comfortable to use.
All right, so walk us through why this is special. I mean, you got 3 layouts here. I mean, so far I see on the left, I see 2 tabs, and on the right, I see 3 tabs. I mean, what's special about this?
Okay, very simple. We narrowed down at the minimum the technique, meaning we didn't want to put a noise around the technique. Everything we implemented is raw. It's very simpler, like the field names are field 1, field 2, field 3. You can remap, you can rename them. You can copy them and you can rename them the way you want. We didn't want to put names and stuff like that. That's why we have tab 1, tab 2. It can be whatever you want. We have here, for example, we demonstrate in this part here, we demonstrate how to organize portal with multiple lines the way we do today with the new design, and we implemented in a way that you can count the number of rows. And we have here a button that creates a row underneath. That you click here, the new button, you have a new row coming, and then you have the number coming up. So if you don't know how to do stuff like that, you can just copy and paste the script and how we did that, and just replicate it into your solution. It's very easy. That's why it's special. It's special because not only we come with a design, not only we come with design guidelines and principle, but we come also with the technique underneath, under the hood on FileMaker. So that's why we implemented things. All along the file, we explain why we did that. And for example here, so we saw how to create a row here, but if you click here, you have the second slide. Your second slide here, we explain that this is a slide control and this is a button bar, and then you can slide here. You see, using your trackpad or the magic mouse, and you can do that. That normally
So we have a timeout on the field, a penalty. I'm throwing a penalty flag. This looks like a tab control to me. You're saying this is not a tab control. I mean, you did that really fast, Nick. Can I get more of a clarification from you on that?
Sure. This is not a tab control. This is a tab. So let's switch on our layout mode. This is not a tab control. This is a tab control. You can recognize when you double click here, you have this is a tab control. And this is a button bar. See, this is a button bar setup. And we have multiple segments. We have 3 segments, 1, 2, 3, right? And this here is a slide control. And both of them are working together. When you navigate, one is modifying the other one. So here, for example, we have a button that just say slide navigation parameter, and it's going to the name object that is the slide object. If slide has a name, and you have a go to object script step that is going to the dedicated object, that means the dedicated slide. Vastly, I prefer to use personally button bars instead of tab control, is because you have plenty of control here. You have control on the 8 that you don't have here. You don't have control on the 8 of the thing. You can even hide with a calculation here. You select a segment on the button bar, and then you go to the hide object and you put whatever calculation you want, and then you will see here, boom, now I have 2 buttons instead of 3. And so you have much more flexibility in the design of the tab control.
So the bottom line, the biggest issue I see here, I mean, the height is an issue, but most people can work around that. But you're saying that we can hide individual buttons in this setup, whereas in a tab, if we have 5 tabs, we can't hide certain tabs.
Yeah, but actually I want to show you why. If we continue the file, you will understand why I'm using this technique. Is because this is a classic way, the tab on the top. But here, as you can see here, we have another section here. We call that complex object. And now that I'm showing you, you understand what I'm saying, why we are using slide control and button bars and not the tab control. Why? Because it's exactly the same technique that we use here, but instead of presenting this horizontally, we present it vertically. So that means you have a complete control. You can present horizontally, but you can also present the tab control vertically. And this offers another dimension in how to use tabs, because as you can see, imagine a tab control with 10 tabs with tabs as big as this, it's impossible to shop on the screen. Imagine this. Let's do the demonstration. Here, how it will look like. You see, you have 10 slides. Okay, you want to do that horizontally. Here, how it looks like. You have something like that. So it's not at all great. When you have vertically, now you have plenty of opportunities in the design to go further instead of having the tab control horizontally.
That is extremely cool, Nick. In fact, I think I'd seen that. You had reminded me of that during our design process, a starting point. But seeing this sample file once again starts to remind you the actual power of a button bar and how cool that technique is.
Yeah, actually, what the audience must know is, when I was working at FileMaker, I was involved in building those objects. When for FileMaker 14, FileMaker introduced, and FileMaker 13 introduced those new objects, I was part of the discussion, and I was part of how the construction of those objects. And when we build those things at FileMaker, we have in mind to use those objects that way. Not only to use as a slide, like a typical slide with the dots, the little dots on the bottom, but also to be able to use a combination of button bars and slide control. Then you have a new dimension. And it's not done, because I want to show you now that you give me the opportunity to go there. I want to show you a third way to use slide control with tabs. Because here, for example, we call that accordion tab control. The accordion tab control is this. Here, imagine you have giant text like that. You have giant text block on your screen, and you have multiple of them. And you want to organize them. So you have this design here. You see here, you have another tab. This is a tab. You click, and then you show up, and it brings on top the title of the current tab you're in. This is another type of tabs, right? And this is also exactly the same technique, slide control with buttons. But instead of using a button bar here, you use a button inside the slide control, because this is a slide control. Let me show you. See here? This is a slide control. You double click here, and you have a slide control with 4. And those are slide control. See, I navigate to the slide control. And each button here is going to the go to object script step. It's very simple. The technique is very simple. And actually, if you want to use this file, you don't need to know the technique. Just look how we build that, copy paste the script, and voila, because we build script in a way to be highly reusable. And let me show you the scripts here right quick. You see the script is very simple. For example, for the navigation, for all the navigation, we have only one script that is here, slide navigation. And we have slide navigation with the parameter, and then that's it. You say, okay, you want to go to this object. You have one script for all kind of navigation. So it's very easy to use this file. It's very simple. But we demonstrate those techniques that are completely ignored in the FileMaker realm, because those techniques actually are coming from the software industry. And you know what? We have this in FileMaker. If you're using FileMaker for years, you know that we have charts. The chart thinking? This is an accordion. You see, even FileMaker natively is using accordion. See? Okay, you have charts, you have style, you have data sources coming up, like that, sliding up, sliding down. So we have this, FileMaker and many other software in the industry is using this technique of the accordion. So I wanted to bring it into FileMaker, into the layout, and this offers a new dimension in creating tabs. Why? Can you imagine a tab with a name as long as this? It's impossible. Imagine you want to put those tabs next to each other horizontally. It's impossible. It's unreadable. You cannot exceed more than 2 to 3 words in a tab control, when you have them horizontally next to each other. And I built that in purpose. I put the name of the tab very long, first tab, very large text, and extra long tab. I wrote it here especially to show the people, to show the users that you can actually put a very, very long name here. And actually, because this is a button, actually what you can do, you can even put a calculation here if you want. It's very, very powerful. It's a very powerful way to do that.
Well, at this point, if I let you go, we'll spend another hour or two making this video, and people are going to want to move on to other things. So we're going to call this video as a kind of an introduction to Under the Hood complete. So I want to say thanks to Nick for making a great sample file for the FileMaker community. And at this point, I want to remind everyone that Nick is actively helping FileMaker users and customers and developers, etc., build awesome interfaces. So as much as this is a free sample for you to play with, it's also a great business card or sample file showcasing Nick's skills. So if you're interested in getting some professional design help, and I mean like premium professional design help, then feel free to email us at support@rcconsulting.com, and we'll get you connected with Nick, and we'll have him help you build a custom interface to fit your specific needs.